The Fire Tower Watcher. I used to think fear came from what you could see. Now I know it comes from what watches you when you think you're alone. This happened in the forests of Washington State, near the old fire lookout towers scattered deep in the mountains, places most people never visit anymore, places that should have been left alone. I went there for a job. I had taken a temporary position helping maintain an abandoned fire lookout tower. The Forestry Service wanted someone to check the structure, clear debris, and report any damage before winter. Easy money, or so I thought. The tower stood miles from the nearest road, perched on a ridge overlooking an ocean of trees. The hike up took most of the day, and by the time I arrived, the sun was already sinking behind the mountains. The tower looked wrong. Not broken, not damaged, just neglected in a way that felt intentional, like something had been avoiding it. The wood was dark, almost black in places. The windows were clouded over, and the ladder leading up creaked before I even touched it. Still, I climbed. Inside, it was worse. Dust covered everything, thick and undisturbed. There were old supplies scattered around, rotted blankets, rusted tools, a broken radio. But what caught my attention was the logbook. Every lookout tower has one. Rangers write daily notes, weather conditions, sightings, anything unusual. This one sat on a small desk by the window. I opened it. The entries started normal. Dates from years ago, notes about storms, wildlife, routine patrols. Then gradually, the handwriting changed. Messier, uneven, shorter entries. Heard something below the tower tonight. Footsteps on the ladder, no one there. It knows my voice. I frowned, probably a bored ranger messing around. Then I reached the last entry. No date, just one sentence. Do not answer if you hear yourself. I laughed. Nervous, sure, but still laughing. People get weird when they're isolated. That's all this was. I closed the book and got to work. Night came quickly, too quickly. One moment the forest was bathed in orange light, and the next it was swallowed by darkness. From the tower, you can see for miles during the day. At night, you see nothing, just blackness stretching in every direction. I lit a lantern and sat by the window, eating from a can and listening to the wind. At least I thought it was wind, until I realized there wasn't any. The trees below weren't moving, and yet I could hear something. A faint, rhythmic creaking. The ladder. I froze. It was subtle at first, a slow creak, pause, creak, like someone carefully climbing upward. I stood up, heart pounding, and stepped toward the trap door in the floor. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. The creaking stopped. I waited. Nothing. I let out a breath, shaking my head. Old wood shifts, temperature changes, that's all. I turned away. Creak. I spun back around. This time, it was louder, closer. Someone or something was definitely climbing. I grabbed the metal bar I'd found earlier and moved slowly toward the trap door. "Who's there?" I said, louder now. No answer. The creaking continued, one step at a time, steady, unhurried, like it knew I couldn't go anywhere. Then it stopped, right below the trap door. I stared at it, barely breathing. Seconds passed, then minutes. Nothing. Finally, I forced myself to move. I crouched down and placed my hand on the handle. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed proof. Maybe I wanted to convince myself it was nothing. Slowly, I lifted the trapdoor. There was no one there, just darkness. The ladder stretched down into blackness, disappearing after a few feet. I leaned closer, raising the lantern. Empty. Completely empty. I let out a shaky laugh. "You're losing it," I muttered to myself. And then, from somewhere below, I heard a whisper. "Hello?" My voice. Exactly my voice. I slammed the trapdoor shut. My hands were trembling now. My heart was racing so hard it hurt. I backed away from the center of the room, gripping the metal bar like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. "No," I said out loud. "No, no, no." But deep down, I remembered the logbook. "Do not answer if you hear yourself." Minutes passed, then an hour. Nothing happened. No sounds, no movement, just silence. I started to calm down. Maybe it was an echo, sound traveling weird through the structure. That happens sometimes. I kept telling myself that, over and over, until... knock. 3 slow knocks on the trap door. I froze again. Another knock, then another. Always 3. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even breathe. Then, "Let me in." My voice, right below me. I clenched my jaw, shaking my head. "Not real," I whispered. "Let me in." Louder now, more insistent. The trapdoor handle rattled. "Let me in." I backed into the corner, pressing myself against the wall. The lantern flickered violently, shadows twisting across the room. The pounding turned into pounding, heavy, violent. The entire tower began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling, the windows rattled, and all the while, it kept shouting, in my voice, screaming, begging, demanding. Then, it stopped. Silence. Complete silence. I stayed there for hours. Didn't move, didn't sleep, just waited for morning. When the sun finally rose, everything looked normal again. The forest below was calm, the sky was clear. I approached the trapdoor slowly. It was still closed, still intact. No signs of damage, no signs of anything. I didn't pack, I didn't clean, I didn't finish the job. I climbed down that ladder and never looked back. But here's what I can't explain. When I reached the bottom, I saw something carved in the wood of the ladder, fresh, deep, like it had just been done. 4 words. "You opened the door." I left that place behind, quit the job, tried to forget. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I hear it again, soft, right outside my room. 3 slow knocks, and then my voice, "Let me in." The silence between the trees. I didn't plan to tell this story. For years, I tried to convince myself it was just exhaustion, maybe a trick of the dark. But there are things you don't forget, things that stay with you, like a shadow that doesn't belong to your body. This happened in the northern forests of Montana. I went there alone. It was late October, the kind of cold that settles into your bones before winter fully arrives. I'd been hunting since I was a teenager, and I knew those woods well enough, or at least I thought I did. Elk season had just opened, and I packed light: rifle, knife, water, and enough supplies for 2 nights. The first day was normal. Quiet. Too quiet, maybe, but that's not unusual for deep forest. Animals sense hunters long before you see them.
I walked miles without spotting anything worth taking a shot at. By evening, I set up a small camp near a dry creek bed, ate, warmed my hands by the fire, and went to sleep under a sky that felt too dark for stars. That was the last normal moment. I woke up sometime after midnight. No reason, no sound, just awake. At first, I thought it was the cold, but then I noticed something strange. The forest was completely silent. Not a single insect, no wind, no distant rustling. It was like the world had been muted. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, circling the edge of my camp. I grabbed my rifle immediately, heart pounding in my chest. "Hello?" I called out, trying to sound firm. No answer. The footsteps stopped. I waited. Seconds stretched into minutes. My fire had burned low, casting long shadows between the trees. I told myself it was probably a deer or maybe a bear, but animals don't move like that, not like something thinking. Then, from somewhere just beyond the darkness, I heard my own voice. "Hello?" Exactly the way I had said it. Same tone, same rhythm. My throat went dry. I didn't speak again. I didn't move. I just sat there, gripping my rifle so tightly my hands ached. After a while, the silence returned. No footsteps, no voice, just that unnatural stillness. Eventually, I must have dozed off. Morning came like nothing had happened. Sunlight broke through the trees, and suddenly everything felt normal again. Birds chirping, wind brushing through leaves. I almost laughed at myself. Lack of sleep can mess with your head. I packed up camp and kept moving deeper into the forest. That was my second mistake. By midday, I realized I was lost. It didn't make sense. I had a compass, I knew how to navigate, but every direction started to feel wrong. Landmarks didn't match what I remembered. The creek I'd camped near had vanished. I checked my compass again. The needle was spinning. Not wildly, but slowly, like it couldn't decide where north was. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps. Behind me this time. I turned quickly, raising my rifle. Nothing there. Just trees. Endless trees. Then, "Hey!" My voice. Again. Closer. I started walking faster, trying to ignore it. My breath came out in sharp clouds. My boots crunched over leaves and twigs. "Hey!" It followed. Every time I stopped, it stopped. Every time I moved, it moved. But I never saw anything.
By late afternoon, panic had set in. I wasn't thinking straight anymore. I just wanted out. I started heading downhill, hoping to find water, a road, anything. That's when I found the clearing. It wasn't there before. I was sure of it. A wide, circular space where no trees grew. The ground was bare, dark soil, and in the center, there was something standing there. At first, I thought it was a man, tall, still, facing away from me. Relief flooded through me. "Hey!" I called out, stepping forward. "I'm lost. Can you—" It turned, and I froze. It wasn't a man. It looked like me. Same jacket, same rifle, same face. But something was wrong. Its eyes were too dark, too empty. It smiled. Not a normal smile. Wider. Too wide. And then it spoke, but its mouth didn't move. "You shouldn't be here." My voice. Again, but this time it felt inside my head. I stumbled back, raising my rifle with shaking hands. "Stay back," I shouted. It didn't move. It just stood there, smiling. Then slowly, it lifted its arm and pointed behind me. I didn't want to turn, but I did. And when I looked back, it was gone. The clearing was empty. I ran.
I don't remember how long. I didn't stop. Branches tore at my clothes, roots nearly tripped me, but I kept going. And all the while, I heard it. Not behind me, not in front of me, everywhere. My voice, calling my name, crying out, laughing. I made it out just before nightfall, stumbled onto a dirt road where a passing truck nearly hit me. The driver said I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I didn't tell him what happened. I never went back. But here's the thing. Sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear it, soft, distant, calling me, in my own voice, and it always says the same thing. You shouldn't have left.